Hello, I'm a person and a professional procrastinator because it is currently 11:30 on Thursday night, and the last day of Dragon Week is tomorrow, and I'm barely halfway done editing. What's Dragon Week, or Monster Week Dragon Edition? It's, Ginny D, pointy hat, tabletop people, lots of videos, playlist in the dingus. It's a thing. So this is part 2 of my video about the swarm of Pseudodragons. The first video was all about how I came up with the idea, the logic that went into making it, and even a particular scenario that I liked about how you could potentially use it. And this video is going to be all about getting into the nitty-gritty of how the stat block actually works. So that's, I think, about all the preamble I need. It's 11:40 on a Thursday night. Last day is tomorrow. I gotta go. Take it away. Past me. Now, I am no kind of game designer, and I have not had a chance to actually run this against actual players, so I do not know how balanced it is or how fun it is. It's just an idea I have, so salt to taste with this one, alright? So I kept coming back to that telepathy and how that basically changes every single thing about how this, monster, for lack of a better term, actually works. Because being able to communicate instantaneously to every single member of your group, even the ones that are, potentially half a mile away, that it lets you react faster, see things coming from further away, and that changes how basically anything works when you actually come to a fight. So the first thing at the very top of the stat block is that their AC includes their wisdom modifier, which is also maxed out. Because, again, these things have omnidirectional awareness. Wisdom is a measurement of your cognizance of the world around you. Gathering and processing sensory data, basically, is what wisdom represents. So, with the way these Pseudodragons work, being able to basically plug into a CCTV network for half a mile in every direction if they need to, that gives them a huge advantage when it comes to wisdom. So I gave them maximum wisdom. And that, in turn, led me to come up with this idea of making them, like a monk, add their wisdom to their AC. Because again, if you can see from any angle, that means you can see an attack coming, no matter where it's coming from. So I gave them the ability spatial awareness. In a previous draft I called it vigilance, but then I found out that's the name of a different feature somewhere else, so I changed it. And as for the rest of the stats, I just took a look at other swarms to see, okay, how do they handle the stats as they relate to being an individual versus the whole collective. And, of course, strength does go up because you are a large group all moving together, and that, obviously makes you generate more force, so their strength has also gone up. But their other stats like dexterity and con and intelligence really don't, because even if you are all interconnected, it's not like the cranium rats. You're not actually amplifying each other's intelligence. You're just using a larger amount of information. It doesn't make you necessarily better at processing that information. Same with dexterity and con. Being able to see an attack coming does not make you individually heartier or quicker for the sake of avoiding or withstanding an attack. But I did give them a significant bump to charisma. Because again, being connected to all these minds would give each individual a stronger grounding of self. Charisma is your force of personality, your self-awareness, your confidence, all of those kind of things. And having all of these others at your back would naturally improve that, so I gave them a bump to charisma too. Not as much as their wisdom, but significant. And then we get down to their proficiencies, which I did give them a few more of. Saving throws, I gave them dex, wisdom, and charisma, because again, wisdom from being able to see everywhere, charisma from having all these things at your back, and dex from being able to see attacks coming. The same skill proficiencies as before, stealth and perception, but they are significantly stronger now, especially perception. And then as for everything else, they just have the same, they have all the same senses as the regular Pseudodragon and all the same condition immunities and resistances that the swarms all have. Resistance to physical damage, immunity to charmed, restrained, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, prone, and stunned. This is where you run into danger with something like this, because swarms, like I said, get annoying because of all those things. It's like, I know how to beat them, I know what to do, but it's just so annoying to actually hit these things. Especially when you get down to things like, you know, magic resistance that make even saving throw spells not as effective as they usually would be. Now, getting to their actions and bonus actions, because yes, I did give them give them one bonus action that I think it makes things interesting. You know, you can tell me if you think it's stupid or too much. Yeah, please leave a comment and all that. But they're, you know, they have the normal things that the Pseudodragon already had: the bite attack and the sting attack, which obviously are going to do a lot more damage now, and the sting attack for the poison, it has a higher DC now because you're just getting a larger dose. Other than that, they're the same. But then you get to the really interesting part. As I was making this, the thought occurred to me, what if they didn't just use their telepathy to communicate with each other, but as a weapon? Together, as they are monitoring the whole battlefield at once, they zero in on one individual who is causing problems or might cause problems, and then they all zero in on that person and bombard their brain with their telepathy. Say hello to Mind Barrage, or Flood Mind, or Overwhelm, or whatever else you feel like calling it. The idea is the same. You pass a wisdom save, or you get stunned by all of these images and thoughts and ideas flooding into your head. And I know people have thoughts about the stunned condition, but that is not what I'm here to talk about. Just don't, please, okay? Okay. Now, this is a concentration ability like a spell, so every time you deal damage to this thing, which shouldn't be that hard to actually deal some damage, even if it's reduced, you should still be dealing damage to this thing pretty much every turn. And they don't have very high constitution, so they are probably going to lose their concentration on this thing, and that character will be able to get back into the fight without even having to make a second saving throw. But even if they don't, it might be interesting if focusing all their telepathy on one person has an effect on how else they operate. Like I said, their telepathy is letting them do everything, including increase their AC. So what if they actually get easier to hit while they're concentrating on this? You know, they're adding their wisdom modifier to their AC, but if their focus is on bombarding this one person, maybe their AC goes down by 2. I didn't put that in the stat block, but that's an idea I just came up with while I was recording this. That's something you can, you know, throw in there to make this a little more balanced, if that's more balanced. Again, I'm not a game designer. I haven't played with this. I don't actually know. It's just a fun idea I had. And that brings me back to the bonus action I mentioned earlier. If they are operating on actual intelligence and strategy rather than just base instinct, they could plan and execute different positioning than a regular swarm. A regular swarm just gathers around a single target and tries to destroy them and just fights like hell, or runs away. But what if these Pseudodragons, with their ability to communicate and plan, tried something a little different? They stay as a swarm, but just spread over a massive area instead. Say hello to Disperse and Gather, where instead of occupying a 10-foot space, they shoot outwards to occupy a 30-foot space, which will reduce the damage they do to whoever happens to be in their area, but also makes them harder to hit. If they've been getting hit really hard and they're planning on running away, this is what they might do as a preamble. Get themselves further apart and then dash their way out of the combat zone entirely, because again, like any other swarm, they can fit through tiny cracks and just get out of the fight if they want to. And as intelligent creatures, that's an option they'd be A, more likely to consider, and B, more capable of pulling off. Let me stop talking in vagaries. Let me actually read this thing. So, Disperse, Gather. At the cost of half its movement, the swarm disperses into a sphere with a radius of 30 feet or gathers back into a 10-foot space. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks, and while dispersed, the swarm has the following properties. It can take the disengage action as a bonus action on each of its turns. Melee attacks against it are made at disadvantage. Its own attacks deal half damage, and the save DC for its poison is reduced to 14. And finally, when the swarm gathers, it can occupy any space within its effective radius. So, if the swarm is feeling pressed, they can disperse into this huge area, which makes them a lot harder to hit, and then they can either dip out of the fight entirely or zero in on somebody who was further away, like one of the casters standing at the back, zero in on them and get all the way over to them much quicker. Because using this, just a bonus action on one turn and then a bonus action on the next turn, they will actually be able to attack that creature singularly without having to waste an action to dash to get there. Again, that's something you can do when you are intelligent enough to actually strategize as a creature. Which brings me back to something that I forgot to mention, because I really should have written this down and made a script, but I didn't feel like it. So there's something I didn't think to mention about the attacks that they can do. With most swarms, this is not something that ever comes up because they're only a 5-foot square and they can attack one creature that is in their space. But with a swarm that is a 10-foot square, what if they can choose to attack any and all creatures in that space? What if they can prioritize who they want to hit harder and just spread the damage around as they choose? And then when they are dispersed, they can spread it to basically everybody on the entire battlefield if they want to, or try to zero in on one person. So, whenever they take their bite or sting action, they spread the damage. You roll all the damage dice, but then spread it around between each individual that is in the area, per the creature's choice. Minimum of 1 damage per target, but everybody who gets hit takes damage. And if it misses one of its attacks, it loses that damage die. So it's not like you're going to, attack everybody in the space and like, oh, you're the only one who got hit, sucks for you, you're taking all the damage. No, they were attacking each individual. They were spreading their focus around, which means even if they hit somebody, it's going to do less damage than if they had focused entirely on one person. And that principle carries over into their reactions. First of all, I gave them a reaction called Swerve. I basically modeled this off of the parry ability. I forget who has. I think it was the Hobgoblin. Somebody has the ability parry that lets you add, I think it's your proficiency bonus, to your AC temporarily. And so that's what I gave them. If the Pseudodragon Swarm is hit with an attack, they can temporarily add their proficiency bonus to their AC, which might make the attack miss. Only for one attack, though. They can't just keep doing this whole turn. It's not the shield spell. They can't keep this up full time. And their other reaction is claws, because they've got their bite attack, they've got their sting attack, but they're dragons. They've got claws too. Why don't they use those? So I gave them the reaction claws. If a creature inside their space attacks them, they can swipe right back at them. Basically, no matter where you are on this battlefield, you are basically always within range of this thing, either of their telepathy or of their physical attacks. Man, I am really not used to talking this much. But yeah, that's basically all I had. That's the swarm of Pseudodragons. It's just an idea that took over my brain for a little while, and I thought, hey, why not? Let me throw this out there and see what anybody else has to say about it. I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it would make a really cool encounter for that baker. Like I mentioned, the drakery, the baker with the swarm of dragons just hanging out at his cafe. But if something goes wrong in town, what the fuck was that sound? Whatever. I think that's about all I had to say about that, so yeah, that's the swarm of Pseudodragons. I thought it was a cool idea. Let me know if you think it's a cool idea. Let me know if you think it's stupid. Let me know if you think it's unbalanced. Let me know if you have some ideas for how it could be improved. I didn't mention any specific numbers when it came to the damage, because that's the part that I have the least confidence in. I, again, looked at other swarms to see, how much their damage increased, how much their HP increased, but I'm not a monster maker under normal circumstances, so I don't know what kind of job I did. Anybody who has more experience with, homebrewing monsters, let me know. So thank you for watching. Like I said, I'm not planning on my whole channel being a D&D channel, but I'd be happy if you stuck around for the various random nerdness that I get up to, so thanks for being here. Insert clever outro. I'll figure it out later. But then I saw a post by Pointy Hat. But then I saw a post. But then I saw a post from Pointy Hat bringing back. But then I saw a video from Pointy Anthony. But then I saw a post from I'm not planning on my whole channel being a video.